Venezuela is facing one of the most devastating natural disasters in its modern history, after two powerful earthquakes struck the country's north-central region within seconds of each other, triggering widespread destruction, panic, and an ongoing emergency response.
¿Qué es esto? ¿Qué está pasando? ¿Qué está pasando? ¡Nada! ¡Mierda!
No, mano, aquí estoy en el paraíso en el Kung Fu.
The seismic event began on the 24th of June, 2026, when a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck near Venezuela's Caribbean coast. Less than a minute later, a second and even stronger magnitude 7.5 earthquake ruptured the same region, creating what seismologists describe as a rare earthquake doublet. The two powerful shocks unleashed intense ground shaking across a large portion of the country, including the capital city of Caracas, where residents described the experience as one of the most terrifying moments of their lives. Reports indicate that the earthquakes were among the strongest to impact Venezuela in more than a century. As buildings swayed violently, thousands of people rushed into the streets seeking safety. Videos recorded across Caracas captured scenes of chaos as residents evacuated apartments, offices, shopping centers, and public facilities. Witnesses reported hearing walls crack, windows shatter, and sections of buildings collapse while emergency sirens echoed through the city. The powerful shaking was felt far beyond the epicentral region, reaching neighboring countries and islands throughout the Caribbean.
Observen después el terremoto. Observen cómo quedó todo.
The coastal state of Laguayra quickly emerged as one of the hardest hit areas. Numerous residential buildings suffered severe structural damage, while some collapsed entirely. Images circulating online show neighborhoods covered in debris, damaged roads, and rescue workers searching through the rubble for survivors. Local authorities have described parts of the region as disaster zones, as emergency crews continue efforts to reach trapped residents and assess the full extent of the devastation.
Se cayeron edificios. Mamá, se cayeron edificios.
One of the most dramatic scenes unfolded at Simón Bolívar International Airport in Maiquetía, Venezuela's primary international gateway. Footage from inside the terminal shows passengers running for safety as portions of ceilings and infrastructure failed during the intense shaking. Preliminary assessments indicate significant structural damage in several areas of the airport, forcing authorities to suspend operations and evacuate travelers and staff. The closure of the airport has complicated emergency logistics and disrupted transportation throughout the country.
Mierda, weón. Qué locura esta mierda, weón. Acabó con el edificio.
Mira los delfines, mira.
Throughout Caracas, reports emerged of collapsed apartment buildings, damaged commercial structures, and widespread infrastructure failures. Rescue teams, firefighters, police officers, and volunteers immediately mobilized to search for survivors. In several districts, residents gathered in open spaces overnight, fearing additional collapses as aftershocks continued to shake the region. Emotional scenes unfolded as families desperately searched for loved ones and waited for news from rescue operations.
Los equipos de rescate continúan trabajando arduamente, pero como pueden observar, la cantidad de escombros es muy alta.
Aquí en San Bernardino, la frutería juvenal, un edificio que colapsó completamente. Hay muchos heridos adentro.
Chamo, tremendo terremoto, vale.
Se derrumbaron algunas cositas de algunos edificios. Bueno, el polvo es porque más que...
Sí hay daños humanos, pero esperemos que no.
Un daño estructural importante que está presentando en este momento. Hay mucha alarma en este momento acá en esta zona de Chacao.
Chamo, tremendo terremoto, vale.
Parece una guerra.
The disaster was compounded by a series of powerful aftershocks that followed the initial earthquakes. Officials reported more than 20 aftershocks within hours of the main events, raising concerns about further structural failures. Authorities repeatedly urged residents to stay away from damaged buildings and remain alert as emergency assessments continued. Experts warned that weakened structures could collapse without warning if additional seismic activity occurs.
Continúan las labores de rescate en el edificio Petunia, en la primera transversal de los
Acaba de caer una torre aquí en Turmedo bajo el temblor. Un edificio completo, allí está. Se acaba de caer.
In response to the catastrophe, interim President Delcy Rodriguez declared a national state of emergency. Government agencies, emergency responders, and military units were deployed across affected regions to assist with evacuations, search and rescue efforts, and humanitarian relief. International support has also begun to mobilize as the scale of the disaster becomes clearer.
Also, my little brother is speaking English.
Se cayó, hay gente ahí.
No hay señal.
Señores, hoy bueno, son las áreas del edificio Pirineo. Miren cómo quedó esto, señores, con este terremoto de hoy.
Fuerte temblor, los Palos Grandes, la Castellana.
Ahí vienen.
Esto se volvió fue mierda, ¿viste? Esto se volvió fue mierda, marico. Compa, ¿dónde estás tú, vale? ¿Dónde estás? Un desastre, marico. Un desastre, esto es la locura. Mire que 5, compa. Aquí se acabó lo que se daba, yo, hermano. Marco Costa Bella.
According to official reports released during the first phase of the emergency, at least 32 people have been confirmed dead and more than 700 injured. However, authorities warn that these figures are expected to rise as rescue teams continue to access devastated neighborhoods and inspect collapsed structures. Many communities remain without reliable communications, electricity, or transportation, making it difficult to determine the true scale of the tragedy.
Parece una guerra. Mamá huevo, Macuto, mierda, mira ya en Caribe. Acaba de temblar ahorita, señores. 10 San Juan.
For many Venezuelans, the earthquake doublet will be remembered as a moment when the ground seemed to move endlessly beneath their feet. Across social media, survivors have shared stories of narrow escapes, damaged homes, and terrifying experiences as buildings shook violently around them. Some described walking for miles through landslide-affected areas and debris-covered roads to reach safety, while others spent the night outdoors, fearing another powerful tremor.
Déjame ver cómo está aquí.
Temblando. Wow. Wow, está temblando todavía. Wow. ¿Qué te pasó, mi pana? Ahí se prendió algo por allí.
Se cayó el edificio.
Se cayó, pero mira, se cayó el edificio, marico.
As daylight reveals the full extent of the destruction, search and rescue operations continue around the clock. Emergency teams remain focused on locating survivors, providing medical assistance, and restoring critical infrastructure. The coming days will determine the true human and economic cost of one of the most destructive earthquakes to strike Venezuela in generations. For now, millions remain on edge, hoping that loved ones are found, aftershocks subside, and recovery can begin from a disaster that has shaken an entire nation.
La casa del señor Reyes, aquí en Los Cocos. Los Cocos, la casa del señor Reyes. Ah, bueno, mira esta locura.
Cuidado acá, sepárense de ahí de la tierra.
Cuídanos, dale la mano, vámonos para allá. Vámonos para allá. Para allá.
Okay.
Para estar en el estadio, ¿no? siempre se ve algo por primera vez. Bueno, y nosotros estamos viviendo